At the beginning of the 21st century, China purchased the unfinished Varyag aircraft carrier from Ukraine, and thus possessed its first aircraft carrier. Aircraft carriers are warships that use fixed-wing aircraft as their main weapon, and the more advanced the aircraft, the stronger the carrier's combat power. At that time, although China had an aircraft carrier, there was no carrier aircraft for the Varyag to use, and there was no suitable model for the conversion of carrier fighters in China's indigenous aircraft types. So the development of a carrier aircraft for use with the Varyag was put on the agenda. The work was undertaken by Shenyang Aircraft Industry Group of China Aviation Industry Corporation, SASIC, and since China had no relevant experience before, it referred to the Su-33 prototype T-10K-3 shipboard fighter obtained from Ukraine and developed a twin-engine shipboard fighter based on the domestically produced J-11 fighter. On December 6, 1996, Russia and China reached an agreement for Russia to provide technology and aircraft parts to assist Shenyang Aircraft Company in the production of the Su-27SK in China, with the agreement stipulating that a full set of components would first be provided by the Komsomolskoye manufacturing plant in Amur, assembled in China, and then progressively localized. After introduction, China renamed the model J-11, a twin-engine, long-range, and all-weather air-to-air fighter. The J-11 and the Varyag, the Soviet Union's original carrier aircraft Su-33, are from the same family, both developed from the Su-27 fighter. So the J-11 is the best choice to develop China's new generation of carrier aircraft. The Su-33 was developed by the Sukhoi Design Bureau on April 18, 1984 on the basis of the Su-27 fighter and was developed to match the Kiev-class aircraft carrier of the Soviet Navy's Project 1143.5 aircraft carrier, and was also the standard carrier aircraft of the Varyag aircraft carrier, which was called the Su-27K at the beginning of the design period, and 9 prototypes have been produced by 1988, 2 of which were tested at the Nitka Carrier Training Center in Ukraine. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the 2 Su-27Ks were transferred to Ukraine, which could not afford to carry out subsequent development of the Su-27K and had to seal it. At the beginning of this century, China acquired one of them from Ukraine, which undoubtedly accelerated the development of China's carrier aircraft. In August 2009, J-15 conducted its first land-based flight test, and on April 25, 2011, the second J-15 prototype conducted a flight test. On November 23, 2012, J-15 conducted its first landing test and takeoff test on Liaoning ship successfully, and after that, pilot Dai Mingming, who piloted the J-15, was awarded the honorary title of Heroic Test Pilot of Carrier Fighter by the Central Military Commission. After that, pilot Dai Mingming was awarded the honorary title of Heroic Test Pilot of Carrier Fighter by the Central Military Commission. From this day onwards, the era of China's sea without carrier-based aircraft became history. On June 18, 2013, J-15 took off and landed again in Liaoning ship and conducted the first ship-based flight, marking China as the 3rd country in the world that can independently train carrier-based fighter pilots. In early December 2013, J-15 was formally inducted into the People's Liberation Army Naval Aviation Corps. In the years since then, the domestic carrier-based aircraft has continued to expand its practical skills and has realized a number of breakthroughs from daytime to nighttime, from single aircraft to formation, and from technology to tactics, etc. This means the formation of practical combat capability, especially the breakthrough of night takeoff and landing technology, which makes China become one of the few countries in the world that have mastered the nighttime takeoff and landing technology of carrier-based pilots. It can be said that the development of J-15 carrier aircraft is a great project, with many new technologies, strong exploratory, high-risk, unprecedented depth and breadth of cross-industry collaboration, and filling in the gaps in the R&D process of carrier aircraft, specification and standardization system, onboard suitability test/test flight method, carrier aircraft pilot training, etc. J-15 carrier aircraft length of 22.28 meters, wingspan of 15 meters, 5.92 meters high, empty weight of 17.5 tons, the maximum takeoff weight of about 32.5 tons, the maximum range of not less than 3,000 kilometers. The shape is very similar to the Russian-made Su-33. For the duckwing main wing horizontal tail, 3-wing surface control surface configuration, but also added a double open slit lifting flaps, greatly improving the wing lift. This design for the J-15 takeoff and landing from the aircraft carrier provides better conditions. This design provides better conditions for J-15 to take off and land from aircraft carriers. J-15 uses relaxed static stability, wing body fusion layout, digital teletype maneuvering system, precise, flexible, and convenient flight action and control. Although the fuselage is large and heavy, but the aircraft operation is very good control and very flexible. Although the J-15 is derived from the Su-27 heavy fighter family, there are many differences compared to land-based aircraft. First, the strength of the main frame structure, landing gear, weapon mounts, and the new landing tail hook have been strengthened, all of which are designed for takeoff and landing operations on the limited flight deck of the aircraft carrier and the very short runway. The second is the use of folding wings, whose main wings can be folded upwards, which can significantly reduce the space occupied by the aircraft for parking and facilitate preservation and dispatching on the deck and in the hangar. Thirdly, the J-15 uses anti-corrosion materials on all major structures and aerodynamic surfaces to do everything possible to adapt to the carrier environment of high salt and high humidity. In terms of power, J-15 initially uses Russian AL-31F engine, and then uses the new domestic turbofan 10 improved turbofan engine, which is completely similar in terms of thrust, volume, weight, thrust transient capability, speed response characteristics, and other indicators compared with the US F-100 engine, F-110 engine, and Russian AL-31F engine, and belongs to the third-generation post-World War II high-thrust jet engine, which is completely at the same technical level. It is the third generation of post-World War II high-thrust jet engines, and is at the same level of technology. At the same time, Turbofan 10 improved turbofan engine spare parts used by the special anti-corrosion treatment to meet the shipborne fighters in the takeoff, reflying performance needs, but also to ensure that the land-based engine then the stronger anti-aberration ability in order to fully adapt to the use of shipborne aircraft needs. In terms of armament, J-15 can carry Thunderbolt 8 out of 10 and other combat missiles, Thunderbolt 11-12 medium-range air-to-air bombs for air superiority combat, and can also carry Eagle 91 anti-radiation missiles, Eagle 83 airship missiles, medium-range air-to-surface missiles, long-range air-to-surface missiles, laser-guided bombs, satellite-guided bombs, and out-of-area munitions dispersers, etc., so as to effectively combat the enemy's targets at sea and on the ground. After the basic model of the J-15 entered into service, China has developed certain improved models based on it. At present, the J-15 carrier aircraft on the Chinese aircraft carriers Liaoning and Shandong are still using the skidding takeoff method originated from the former Soviet Union, which does not put too much demand on the design and construction of the carriers themselves, but limits the amount of fuel/bombs that can be carried by the carrier aircraft during takeoff. Although this type of takeoff does not put too much demand on the design and construction of the carrier itself, it will limit the amount of fuel/bombs that can be carried by the carrier aircraft during takeoff, which to a large extent restricts the performance of the carrier aircraft. At the same time, the use of ski jump takeoff not only puts greater demands on the performance of the aircraft itself, but also increases the difficulty of the pilot's own operation. Therefore, China's third aircraft carrier Fujian has adopted the electromagnetic catapult takeoff mode, with which the catapult version of the J-15 is also logical. According to the images disclosed by the relevant media, compared with the previous sliding takeoff version of the J-15 carrier base fighter, the strength of the fuselage of the catapulted version of the J-15 carrier base fighter should have been greatly enhanced. At the same time, the strength of its front landing gear has also been improved to a certain extent, and an additional ejection tractor bar has been installed, which is necessary for the catapult takeoff. In addition, China has modified the J-15D electronic warfare attack aircraft based on the J-15S two-seat fighter. Its main improvement is said to be the conversion of the rear seat into an electronic warfare equipment manipulator for maneuvering the airborne electronic warfare equipment. The two ends of the wings increase the radiation source positioning pods, which can accurately locate the radiation sources on the sea surface and the ground from a long distance, and guide the electronic jamming machine and anti-radiation missiles to strike. The aircraft also replaces the mechanically scanned radar on top of the J-15 fighter jet with an onboard active phased array radar, which has stronger air-to-air/ground detection capability and is capable of high-precision imaging of ground targets in ground-based synthetic aperture mode and of high-precision imaging of sea surface moving targets in inverse synthetic aperture mode, which, together with the electronic support reconnaissance system, can identify the type and nature of the target. Multiple electronic jamming pods can be mounted under the wings, and anti-radiation missiles can also be mounted, capable of soft/hard suppression of targets. In order to provide space for electronic warfare equipment, the J-15D has canceled the aerial gun on the J-15 carrier-based fighter, but it can still mount air-to-air missiles, which provides a certain degree of self-defense capability in air combat. After the J-15D electronic warfare attack aircraft is installed, it effectively improves the electronic warfare and air defense suppression capability of naval carrier aircraft. J-15D can rely on its own high-precision radiation source localization system to accurately locate the other party's radiation source at a long distance and guide the airborne electronic jamming machine and anti-radiation missile so that the combat effectiveness is doubled. The electromagnetic information acquired by J-15D can also be transmitted to the Rear Command Center through data chain, so that the Rear Command Center can establish the complete battlefield electromagnetic situation, speculate the other side's intention, and provide target indication for our firepower strike system.